Welcome to Bound by Books, a podcast of five authors across the genres talking about that one thing that we're all bound by, books. I am one of your hosts, Danielle Bannister, and I'm joined today with fellow writer Tina Moss. And what are we talking about today, Tina?
Oh my God, we're so excited because we are the only people that could do this podcast in our author group. We are talking Marvel men and Marvel movies in general. We are going to go on a whole Marvel rant.
You got your Marvel. For those on YouTube, I'm wearing my Marvel, one of my many Marvel shirts.
I completely screwed this up. I literally have 4 Marvel shirts, and what am I wearing? I'm wearing Game of Thrones. I'm wearing the dragons.
You are misrepresenting.
I mean, I have like Marvel colors. I have blue hair and a red bandana. We're good.
You do. I can't tell you how giddy I was, because you have to understand, for those who don't know, we were five complete strangers when we started this marketing group together and talking. So we didn't know anything about anything. And so I was so happy when I discovered that there was a fellow Marvel lover in the group. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, before we get into it though, I had to tell you, so we were just talking about my past teaching experience. When I was teaching middle school, I was actually the club advisor for the middle school comic club. And it was one of my favorite things in the world because these were all just geeky children like me. I got to take them to the Star Wars movies. We got to geek out every week at lunch. It was like the most amazing experience.
That's awesome.
Because truly, I am a 13-year-old inside. So, it was perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely. But we wanted to talk today, not just about Marvel and why we love Marvel. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But why being a Marvel fan as a writer actually makes a whole lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, because at the heart of Marvel movies, and I think what sets them apart from others, at the end of the day is the writing.
100%.
The writing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is on point. And if you are a writer or you want to be a writer, these are movies that you should be looking at and studying and saying, how did they do this? How did they get this right? I mean,
when Infinity War came out, the first thing I said to my husband was, I've never seen a cinematic universe be able to tie in so many separate plot lines, so many separate character arcs into one film. Like that alone was amazing. And then you get to the credits and it's like, 1,000+ writers on the roster. Yeah. Being able to keep all of that coordinated though, I mean, even if you're not a superhero fan, if you're not a fan of Marvel, that alone deserves props.
Abso-freaking-lutely. And they probably didn't, they probably thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could have this big universe? I don't think they started it going, okay, it's going to start with Iron Man and we're going to take it all the way through Endgame. But I think as momentum built, as fire built, they were smart in that they left doors open and they left opportunities open so that if something should catch fire, they could follow the threads that they had already woven in. And I'm sure there were movies that they had to like finagle backwards and, piece together. But writers have to do that too. I mean, Absolutely. If we're writing a series and suddenly we have to go, oh, I need to connect that backwards now. We have to write a way through it. And Marvel does that beautifully.
They really do. I think that's such a good lesson for writers too, to think about when you're writing your books, like what threads can I leave if I want to pick this back up again? Because maybe you don't, maybe a series isn't doing so well, or maybe you're just not interested in writing that particular genre anymore. But always having like at least one door open to be able to go back into that world, I think is a really smart thing for writers.
Even if you think this is just as a one and done book. I mean, the first book that I ever wrote was a one and done book. I had written it. It was very clear that it was the end. There was no going, oh, there's more. But yet readers were like, oh no, there's more. What about this? And so they found a crack open that I hadn't even considered. And I got 2 more books out of the window that they showed me.
That's amazing. Okay. What book was that?
That was the Twin Flames trilogy. Okay. Pulled back and pulled back again. Came directly from readers going, but wait, there's more.
Was it a different side character that they wanted to know, or was it the same characters that they wanted to know more about?
It was the same characters that they wanted more of. And
awesome.
I had written the end, and it was a clear the end, but they found they found the thread in. And when I went back, I'm like, duh, of course that's the thread in. I'm a moron.
But isn't that kind of the joke too of certain superhero universes, not Marvel per se, but certain superhero universes, like nobody's ever really dead. We can bring them back.
It's true. Nobody's ever, especially in Marvel, nobody's really dead.
Nobody's really dead. It's fine. Oh, you want that character? Okay, great. We'll bring them back.
We'll find a way to bring them back.
I think that also stems just from like comic book backgrounds, where you have these different comic book series where suddenly a character will, as the kids say, pop off and become super popular, and like, oh my God, I was planning to axe him, down the road. So maybe we don't do that, or maybe we find this glorious way to resurrect him. I feel like is super common in comics.
Exactly what happened with Loki, the character of Loki.
Yes.
He was supposed to die. He was written to die in the early movies. That was it. He was done, and they screened it. And the test audience was like, oh, he's still alive. What did he do? How did he trick them? And they were like, oh, I guess they want more of it. So your readers can sometimes be the ones that dictate if your characters really do live or die.
And I do imagine with the Loki character, like, they had this image, I think, of Loki to begin with. It was going to be this counterpoint to Thor, right? He was going to be a little darker, a little more on the evil side of mischief. Right. And then they switched Thor completely, and everything was funny now. We got Guardians of the Galaxy from the Thor movies. We started in this literally dark world. Yeah. We started in dark world, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh wait, this can be campy and fun, and we could have another Guardians hit on our hands. With Thor Ragnarok. So they totally switched Loki's character, which I think was a really brilliant move, because dear Tom just plays that character. I mean,
hands down.
He's perfect.
Hands down. And that's speaking again to the power of your audience. The readers maybe don't understand the raw power that they have, both in reading and in film. If they respond to characters, you can bet that the writers in the room are paying attention to that. And we want to give you more of what you love. So if you're ever reading a book and you love a character or a story, let the writer know so they go, oh, you want more of that? I haven't heard from anybody about this character, so everyone must hate them. But the best thing that you can do if you want more of that character is let the creator know, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
I had that experience with writing Red Alert, because I started Code Black, and I knew, and don't get me wrong, I loved my main characters in Code Black, but I was writing this side character who was so loud in my head, who had all the Spike from Buffy vibes, but like all the things we didn't like about that just taken out, and just this cool, sassy kind of vampire who just would not shut up. So when I introduced him in the book, I kind of knew that readers were going to go nuts for this character, and it turned out to be right. My only mistake, unfortunately, was life coming in and writing the book 5 years in between. So I made the readers wait 5 years, which they were not happy about. But I got a lot of emails and a lot of reviews being like, hello, we want Drake. Hello, we want Drake. Can you write him already? And I'm like, life is in the way. I'm so sorry.
Pesky life gets in the way.
But that was definitely an instance where, like, I kind of knew beforehand, because I was getting such vibes from this character, that there was going to be a clamoring for this side character to have his own series. And unfortunately, it just had a little bit of life happen in between, but he did get his book. So if you haven't read it, go ahead.
I mean, and sometimes that's the thing. I mean, we have things we got to do. We're not just writing all the time. I mean, a lot of times we have regular day jobs, or we have families, or, life traumatic stuff happens that we have to deal with. So we can't write all the time, but it's good to know what you like so that we can make sure to write more of it.
Absolutely.
So we're not giving you crap you don't want.
Yeah. And the more
that would be DC. Oh, I'm going to get hate for that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
I knew we were going to get on
that. I should not have said that.
there. Listen, I don't think anybody, I mean, I hope not. I don't think any writer is going to argue that DC is the better written universe. It's just, there's no comparison. Yes, there are, I mean, Batman is one of the all-time greatest superheroes ever. There are great characters in DC.
Absolutely.
The Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie.
First one was fabulous.
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 But as a whole, Marvel just took this momentum, right? Took this huge scale universe and said, okay, we're literally going to take this into phases because there's so much material here. So we have got to get this right for our audience and make sure that everything is connecting in a way that is smooth and cohesive as possible. And look, they don't get it right all the time, but the vast majority is just so impressive for a universe of that scale. I think DC could do that. They just have
new writers.
Haven't. Yeah, they need new writers. They need whole teams.
Here's the writing piece that I think Marvel got right and DC slept on. Mm-hmm. Marvel concentrated on character. Mm-hmm. They made that the most important driving force. That is the thing that is far and away more important. So we care about these people that were on the screen. We care in Civil War that all of these characters that we have grown to love are fighting each other. It upsets us. It bothers us. But when we watch Spider-Man v. Batman, we don't really care because they haven't given us the character growth to care about
100%.
These. So that's, again, another like sort of right. It goes back to the writing. They made these character driven.
And that's also knowing the audience, because my husband and I have this conversation all the time. He loves British television, loves British TV shows. He's just nuts about it. And we always make the comparison where when you have an American audience wants characters. They want to relate to their characters. They want to know their backstory. They want to see themselves in the character. Whereas with British television, it's very plot driven. It's very like, who done it or the comedic effects of it. It's much more about the story and the plot, and not so much about the characters. Even with the very famous Doctor Who, right? The reason that Doctor Who works is because he can constantly adapt and change. So yes, you love Doctor Who, but you really love the storyline and the plot line of Doctor Who more than Doctor Who himself, as we've seen, or herself. So that's what I think the difference is too, that Marvel saw this American audience, this character driven, give me all of the backstories audience ready to go, and said, okay, we have got to do this in a way that's going to be cohesive for the audience. Because you think of DC and like some of the Batman films, they're iconic. They're fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love Batman as a ninja. Yes, give me Batman as a ninja any day. But the reason that doesn't translate is because I don't care when Batman is with Superman at all. Yeah. I don't care if they're friends or enemies. You haven't made that connection for me in prior films to make me suddenly care about it in your new films. That, I think, is their biggest mistake, that continuity between them.
Yeah. And I think another issue that maybe DC has that Marvel doesn't is that Marvel leans into characters' flaws.
Yes.
And DC doesn't give them flaws at all. They make them these sort of one-dimensional characters, and Marvel is like, we're going to show you the not so pleasant side of these heroes. They're going to have some things that are not ideal. They're going to make some bad choices. They're going to make mistakes, and that in itself makes them more human and more relatable, because guess what? We all make mistakes too. So I think that's something important to look at too, is it's okay to highlight flaws even in a hero.
Yep. I talked about this a little bit with Marianne on the last podcast, because in A Touch of Darkness, I have gotten critiques, as well as my co-author has, because our main character sometimes makes terrible decisions, absolutely terrible decisions. And she's gotten the, well, she's too stupid to live comment. And I'm like, no, she's not. She's literally, she's in her 20s. She doesn't have, exactly. Thank you. See? If you're
so many mistakes in the 20s, so many.
That's just your time to make mistakes. Like you do stupid things. And so there's one point in the story where she essentially decides She's in Vegas for the first time. She wants to go out on the town. And yeah, that sounds crazy when, there are some demons trying to pursue her and there are things happening. But at the same time, she's a 20-something New Yorker.
Exactly.
She's not sitting in her hotel room going to be safe. Come on now.
And there's that sense of immortality, really, when you're that age, that nothing bad's really going to happen. You haven't really been brushed with death or the thought of death so much when you're in your 20s. So of course you're going to be like invincible and thinking stuff like that. So
exactly. So it just made me laugh. I'm like, so the story you want me to write is she's in danger, but decides that she's just going to stay in her hotel room. That's it. It's not gonna happen. Just that's not who she is. That's not that character. So I feel like that's the same way that we sometimes get with these DC films, is that we have these perfect characters that never, like you said, they never do anything wrong. One of the endearing things of Iron Man, even though he is a hero that most of us should not like, right?
Exactly.
He's a billionaire. He's a super genius. He can do it all, right?
He's a jackass.
He's a jackass. We shouldn't like him. But he's endearing because he's constantly questioning himself. He's constantly, even with all of this ego and this arrogance coming out internally, I just see him as a 12-year-old boy. I honestly see him as a little kid, constantly needing external validation and questioning his decisions.
Yeah, but we get to see him shift out of that arrogant jackass and merge into somebody who is more developed and who has learned from those past mistakes and those past flaws. We get to see that arc so that it's an impress. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, all of these heroes went through pretty epic story arcs, and some of the villains, I'll say villains because some of the villains that were villains have sort of merged and changed as well, so that they're not, we can't even say that they're villains, even though they're probably characterized as villains, but we feel empathy and we understand sort of where they're coming from.
Thanos wants to destroy half of the universe, and we're going, I can see that. I kind of get your point. I don't say I agree.
An extreme environmentalist. That's what Thanos is.
Because it's so well done that you watch him and you go, I could see where you're coming from. I don't know if I'm fully on board, but I'm a step in the direction. I see what you're saying, right? And if we didn't have that, if he was just like this hated character, I don't think we would get the depth that we do in the film, specifically with him.
Right.
And that's characters like that where you have like the morally gray or the anti-hero or the villain. She's like, oh boy.
Yes. I mean, I think that those types of characters are exciting, that you can write characters that are essentially morally bankrupt on the surface, but maybe we don't know all that there is to know, or the reasons behind them. And sometimes even your hero feels like the villain. They feel like they're the ones that are sort of that Thanos sort of energy, that they're in the wrong. And so I think those are compelling stories to tell. And I think Marvel does a pretty decent job with their villains. If there is a weakness in Marvel, it is some of their villains are a little campy or a little two-dimensional, that they don't spend enough time diving into the whys of.
I felt like that with Guardians of the Galaxy with the second one. What is his name? The daddy.
So some of them are just a little too thin, that they didn't spend enough time. We're just evil for evil's sake, and there's no history. And so those are ones that we could have probably spent a little bit more time to make them a little bit more fleshed out.
Right.
I know a lot of people have issues with Ultron. Yeah, I love Ultron as a villain. I think he's hysterical because he is a sort of a Tony Stark clone. So it makes sense that he is snarky and arrogant, just like Tony, because it's all of Tony's AI that went into creating him. So some people just didn't like that he was funny and quippy, but it to me it made sense based on its creator.
Right. And I like Ultron too. I think it's a nice play on humanity being in a robot in a way that's, I mean, essentially he wants to destroy humanity, but he is more human than some of the human characters.
Yeah.
So that snark works perfectly for me.
Yeah. I mean, and the more I watch that, the more I enjoy that one. That's one of that goes on over time. Like, yeah, all right, yeah, I like this one. So I wanted to ask you when, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, because you may not have. Have you ever, as a writer, written a story with either a Marvel character in mind or a Marvel actor in mind as sort of like the person that you're envisioning when you're writing stories? Or
so I can't say that I've ever written a Marvel character insert essentially into the story. Like I said with Drake from Red Alert, it was very Spike from Buffy influenced.
Yeah.
I definitely have some Xena-esque vibes in some of my heroines. I don't think I've ever gone down the superhero route for a character, although I think any dark character is going to have a lot of Batman because I just grew up constantly with Batman, so it's in my subconscious whether I want it there or not. But no, I've never like consciously said, okay, I love this Marvel character, let's see how I could put my spin on the character into the story. Right. What about you?
The characters no, but the actors abso-frackin-lutely I have. Abso-frackin-lutely.
Which book, which characters, which actors? Give us the details.
I've used a young blonde Sebastian Stan actually for my latest Girl on Fire as my inspiration for Brad, because he can play a villain perfectly in my opinion. And he's got that, there's something about a villain that is also attractive that makes them able to get away with things more, because I think we allow that beauty to sort of blind us into the danger factor. 100%. And so that's, I think Marvel does a good job at that too, with making some of their villains very attractive.
Very attractive.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I've used Paul Rudd before. He's in a draft version of something that I was co-writing with another author, RJ Keller. We both love Paul Rudd, so we're like, he needs to be in one of our books. So we totally made him into we've given this Paul Rudd character some sexy scenes, which is a riot to write when you're thinking about Paul Rudd and like putting him in sexy situations. It's very bizarre, but we're like, yeah, we could do that. I've used Mark Ruffalo before, again, in a draft of something. Evans, of course, has been in stuff. ScarJo. Yeah, absolutely. Those inspiration type people, abso-freaking-lutely. Not the superhero stuff, because I don't really write anything that would warrant a superhero type character. But if you were like a fanfic writer, the source material you could pull from Marvel.
My God.
I have not gone down the rabbit hole of fanfiction of Marvel because I would never get anything done.
You would never, that would be it. You would never get out.
I'm out. I can't do anything today. I'm just reading all day long.
It's literally one of the reasons I never played World of Warcraft, although that is like completely up my alley. I just felt like I would never leave the house. I would just live in that world and never leave. But you mentioned Brad with Girl on Fire.
Yes.
Now talk about a villain. But without spoiling the story, personally, what I liked about that character so much is exactly what you talked about, where he is very attractive and he comes off as a person who should be morally good, who should be this upstanding kind of citizen of the community, and has this ultra darkness inside of him. But even with that, you still give reasons why that might be. And I'm not going to spoil the story for anybody, but I love that there's still like a part of me that goes, well, maybe it's because of this. Like, I don't forgive anything you've done because you're horrible.
Right.
But also it could be because of this. So,
and that was important for me in writing, because one of the questions I get a lot is they want to know what happened with this particular character in this certain situation that I hint to and allude to, like what really happened, because they don't answer sort of what happened. And I thought it was important not to.
I love
because
that.
it's not his story. This is not his story. This is Sarah's story.
Right.
And I wanted to leave that open to interpretation, because I don't want to be in his headspace.
No,
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know, but I do feel it's important that characters are not all evil and they're not all good.
Yeah.
Because we're not.
100%.
There has to be some shred of redemption, even in your villain. There has to be some thread of possibility that they are not completely morally corrupt, because then that makes them boring to me.
Exactly.
If there is no light in them, then you're a character that I'm just not compelled to read more about.
Right, because you're just pure evil, and if there's nothing behind that, then there's nothing I can latch onto, right? There's nothing I can feel for you other than just fear or anger or whatever. But having somebody that has those threads of like, oh, I could see why, makes us, I think, feel so much more. In A Touch of Darkness, for me, it was very important that, because I was playing with fallen angels and demons and completely out of the realm of religion, just paranormal fun. But to have the most villainous evil in the book actually be the humans, so that the demons, fallen angels, paranormal creatures, etc., had much more depth and range to their emotions, and the ones that were coming off much more evil was humanity. And I just like that play between, like, you know, how do you latch onto something that's so other? Well, this is exactly how. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that Marvel does really well, is giving us this otherness that's also very ingrained in the human experience. That's really what I love, I think, the most about Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Loki's a good character to look at about that villain not being a villain, but being a villain, but not being a villain. You know, that you just go back and forth with a character like that, because you can totally understand why he is the way he is and the way he acts the way he is, given the circumstances that they've put him in. So they've given him a reason for being mischievous, and you sort of forgive him for it because you understand it. And you get it, and you might act the same way if the situation was.
And come on, he's the little brother. He's and spoilers. I don't know why at this point you wouldn't know, but the adopted little brother. Like, how many to this perfect godlike Thor? You think you're gonna have a complex?
Well, see, here's the thing. I have a theory about it, and I'm probably completely wrong. But here's my theory. I haven't read the comics, so this might be answered, and I may be talking out of my. But I have a feeling that they are half brothers. That baby, the reason that Odin saved him was not just because he found this baby and felt bad for it because he had his own son and he was, but because that was Frigga's child. He has the same powers as she does. I
feel like there's definitely comics, and I don't know which versions because there's so many that do make them half brothers. I'm almost positive of that.
It has to be. Yeah. I mean, there's just,
which adds on a whole other layer, right? Because now we have an experience where not only am I in the shadow of this literally blonde god older brother, but I'm also having this very strange relationship with my father, who, if that is the case, how did she have this other child? So there's so many layers to it, and I love how this show, again, spoilers if you haven't seen the show, go watch Loki. Oh my god. It takes this in a totally other direction by giving us all these versions of Loki now. All the people he could have become if circumstances were different. Like, how brilliant is that?
And how many times have we wondered that ourselves? If I had not missed that bus, if I had made that meeting, if I had gotten that job, how would my life be different? And a story like Loki sort of explains sort of how different life choices affect different things, and how
Yeah. How you're still at the core, like you start out as the same person, right? But experience has taken them in such different directions that now they're totally different people. I know that some fans had issues with the romantic tones of Loki with Loki. But also, hasn't most people thought about, like, if I had a twin that was like not blood, but also me, clone me?
There again, though, that is a completely character-driven choice. I mean, of all the people that would fall in love with themselves, of course it would be the narcissist of Loki. Of course it would be. It's absolutely a character-driven choice. It makes perfect sense if you listen to what your characters are doing.
And I love the kind of parallel that they had, right? She is reaching out because she has spent her entire life alone. She's been alone and suddenly literally finds herself, right, in this other person, where he, on the other hand, has had family, but has always felt like the outsider, has struggled to be a hero in some ways, because I think deep down that's what he does want, right? I don't think he wants to be this villainous character. And of course they latch onto each other. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And look, we're romance writers, so a little romance never hurts anybody.
A little romance. And that's something that I think that Marvel does well too, is they thread in a little romance for those. It's not saturated, it's a little. And that's it seems funny to me, is that there are so many female fans of this. It's not I might even say it's predominantly a female fan base, maybe not, but there is a large female following for the Marvel
I mean, the sexy men on the screen don't hurt matters.
No, it does not. No, it does not. And do you think that Marvel's been paying attention to female gaze? Do you think that they were paying attention?
I do. I think specifically in this new direction that Marvel is taking now, I think the Loki series shows it very specifically, the female gaze, right? Because yes, Thor is beautiful. Nobody is going to argue about Chris Hemsworth. I'm sorry. If you are a woman who is attracted to men, or just a person who is attracted to men, you're going to find him attractive. He just is, right? But I think with Loki, and it shows into the female gaze in particular, is the depth of character. This idea of him needing to be nurtured, right? Definitely plays a huge part in the female gaze. Him being much more emotional with Sylvie and talking more about his feelings. 100% female gaze. So yes, while we enjoy abs,
right.
I think what they're playing into now is the more of the emotional depth of the characters, specifically their male characters, and their female characters are coming off a little more kick-ass, Don't get me wrong, Black Widow was always kick-ass, but she was also very much there for the male gaze. I don't think
absolutely.
Look at Scarlett Joe and
off with the male gaze, and it's shifted. Yeah.
When you look at the early films and Scarlett Joe as Black Widow, you go, obviously.
Another ass shot, another boob shot. Okay, got it. Got it. That's for the men. Got it. Yeah.
And I do think that this new, the way that her character has progressed, and now in her own film, which can arguably not be her own film and really her sister's film, but that's a whole other thing. They are starting to see, like, okay, I don't have to just play into this male audience of the, like you said, the boobs and the butt shot, but there is a large percentage of female viewers, and how do I, as a Marvel business, capitalize on that? And I think they are starting to.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that they're paying attention to what their viewers are saying. We want to see more of this, or we want to see more of that. I mean, they respond, but that's not to say that. Well, I don't think every Marvel movie has a naked man chest on it. I don't think it might be within, if you're a hero, you have to be shirtless at some point for the men.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. But I think that's part of that female gaze. It's not when we refer to female gaze, it's not, oh, how much chest can I see? It's not just the physicality of looking
Right.
at it. It's again those allowing those flaws, allowing us to see beyond this perfectness of Thor, say,
Mhm.
being this perfect, unflawed character. I didn't care for Thor until
No.
Ragnarok, and
Ragnarok,
until
yep.
until
Same.
they started to show some flaws in these characters. And then I mean, even the heavier Thor, I'm like, you know what? I
Yep.
like him way better than I liked.
You pulled it out of my brain. I was thinking the exact same thing, because it doesn't matter. I think with the female gaze in particular, it doesn't matter how attractive a man looks on the screen. We're going to appreciate the attractiveness. Don't
Sure.
get me wrong. You know,
Sure.
we are
Human.
We have blood
Right.
flowing through our veins.
Right.
We're going to appreciate it, but we're not going to latch on in the same way that so many people have latched on to Loki, right?
Yeah.
Why is Loki no offense to the actor, I don't
Right.
find him attractive, but I am totally attracted to Loki. Totally attracted to that character.
Yeah.
Physically, no, I don't
Right.
particularly find him attractive,
Right.
but him as that Loki character, 100%.
Yeah. Because
100%.
he's showing some vulnerability, and
Yep.
he's
And depth.
Yeah.
Depth,
Yeah.
vulnerability, and it's not just like the macho man, godlike superhero.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's bizarre that Loki is far more fuckable
Mhm.
than his brother Thor. It shouldn't be that way.
But it
And
is.
yet,
And
yet
yet,
you ask a majority of Marvel they're gonna pick Loki.
Loki. Yeah. I mean, I'm not kicking Thor out of bed. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, who would? Who would? But
I don't want to
gonna come back
follow
for
his
seconds.
story. I don't want to, I don't want to know all of his deep, dark secrets, because I don't think there are that many. Although, again, they've done a lot with that character, and in large part, I think, to the actor. So definitely props to him. But I don't care as much, because he doesn't have the same level of depth that Loki does. So going back to your books for a second, when you're writing characters, since we do predominantly write romance, although I know that you have a lot of genres.
I really do.
But predominantly romance, so we are writing towards a female audience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you set up your hero? Like, what are your heroes typically like?
Well, see, I tend to write characters who feel like they are broken, and they feel like they are discarded, and then the arc becomes them sort of overcoming that sense of worthlessness, that sense of the arc is the sort of trusting to love themselves. And so the themes in a lot of my books are similar, that they start out in one place and then they end up changed and evolved, but the things that they learn by the people that they interact with. Mm-hmm. And that's a common theme for me, because I think that's so universal. Mm-hmm. That I feel like so many people, especially in society today, don't feel like enough. They don't feel good enough. There's this constant comparison to other things, and the media is like, it just drills into us that we aren't good enough, that we aren't special enough, or we aren't a superhero. We're just whatever it is. So I like to write those characters that are so completely low, and see how life can help them change perspective. So my heroes aren't the kick-ass badasses that your heroes predominantly are. Mm-hmm. But I still think that they're considered the hero, because they end up becoming the hero to themselves.
Oh, I love that.
If that made any sense at all.
No, it definitely did. Which of your books would you say has that more, or the most, hero who is really broken and has to find themselves?
Right. Well, probably Naya in Pulled is the most similar to that Sarah character, that's sort of most like emotionally sort of broken. My other characters are broken, but they're kind of more snarky about it. They're like, yeah, I know I'm damaged goods, deal with it. They're not really dealing enough with it, but then throughout the book they go, oh yeah, this is shit I gotta process and that I gotta work through. My young adult, What Moons Do, is sort of like that when you're in high school and you feel that like I am invisible, nobody sees me, you know, that sort of feeling that starts in high school, and sometimes you can't ever shake that feeling. So but even in my steamy books, the first 100 kisses, the second 100 kisses, I have a character who has a pretty low self-esteem. She's still going about her day and doing her stuff, but she's self-deprecating and she's like, you know, whatever. And it's through circumstances that they become more aware of like, no, I really shouldn't be thinking about that about myself. I really should be, you know, loving who I am and loving, you know, loving the curves of my body, or, you know, I am worthy.
And I do feel a lot of that. I know we keep talking about Loki, but I think he's just brilliantly written character. I do feel a lot of that with Loki. Like, yes, he comes off as a narcissist and might be, but at the same time, I also think he is very broken. I think he's very, you know, down on himself. I think we get that in the Loki series. We see where he's like maybe not as much of a narcissist. Well,
he's never been loved. Really. Right. I mean, besides his mother. He hasn't really been loved or appreciated. He's always been like the annoyance, the you know, and you get treated like that all your life. That's what you're going to project back out. So that's why I think it's also so important that he's getting that love and consideration from Sylvie, because he's seeing it for the first time. And like, what do I do with this? This is something foreign to me, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's interesting to watch a character discovering something as common as love. Everybody knows what that feels like, don't they?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. And so it's,
No, it's true.
So that really makes a compelling character.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even with my characters, like you said, obviously I write paranormal, I write sci-fi, so we have a lot of the strong alpha heroes. But I sometimes, like for example, with Code Black, I consider the main character Talon to be kind of a soft alpha, because he's a leader of a special agent team, paranormal crimes division. So he has to be alpha, he has to be the leader, but he's so good at, what I love about this character, he's so good at relying on his team and being a team member, even though he's the leader. So I guess in some ways he does come off a little Captain America-y, a little like, because I consider Captain America that same kind of thing. Like obviously he's an alpha type character, but he's kind of like a soft alpha. It's not an in your face.
So it's like a Tony and a Cap combined, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that makes sense. He's definitely got some snark in him, but he doesn't come across as arrogant. And honestly, as much as I love that particular character, I do have problems with Captain America. Captain America is my husband's favorite character, but the issue for me is he comes across, same issue I have with Superman, he comes across as too good. Yeah. When there's no doubt, there's no, you know, morally gray area, there's just kind of this ultra perfection, idealistic, you know, being.
And that's why Tony doesn't really ever trust him fully, because like I don't trust a guy who doesn't have a dark side.
Exactly.
And he says, well, you just haven't seen it yet. No, we haven't.
No, because we don't have one.
I'd love to see your dark side.
Not there. It's not there. And I would argue that Superman is actually even more of a compelling character, because he has Clark Kent, right? He has his kind of perception of what humanity is.
Right.
It's weaker. It's, you know, it's not perfect. So I think even with Superman might have more depth than Captain America. Well, because my husband will tell me, oh, but Captain America, he's from Brooklyn. Come on, he's the all-American hero. He came from nothing and he got the serum and he became this. And I'm like, yeah, but he's still not quite the underdog you think he is. Yeah. Because the second he gets it, it's like everything inside of him has now come out to the surface, and all of that is perfect. Yeah. All of it.
Well, I think his one weakness that we did get to see is his relationship with Bucky. that's where he lets go of the things that are morally right, and he lets things blur, is with that friendship. But that's really the only time that I think that we see him do the maybe morally not right choice, is when it comes to that friendship.
And see, I've got an answer for this too. Which is the morally right choice? To stand by your friend who you know is essentially good on the inside. Like he knows that Bucky is not evil, right? He knows that there's got to be something else going on. So is it the morally right decision to stand by your friend, or to, follow what they're saying about him?
But then that's the thing. Is it legally right? Or do you guys? So that's where it becomes gray. That's I think what he realizes, that things are not black and white as they were in the first movie. That there are shades of gray to what's right and what's wrong.
And I think that's my issue too. Like, it's not that he doesn't understand that the shades of gray, is that he himself does not have shades of gray. Everything is external shades of gray for him.
Right. Yeah.
I think if we saw just give me like a little hint of something there, then I could latch onto that more. But for me, he's too perfect.
And I think that there was a missed opportunity where they could have shown that was in Age of Ultron, when the mind manipulation and the fear, showing Cap's fear of not being the morally right. Yes. They could have really dove into him like being like the bad, using his powers for bad instead of good. We could have seen that, I think. I think that was a mistake.
Or just self-doubt. I have never seen him doubt himself ever. In any movie, I don't, even when he's fighting with Tony, he is convinced and he is firm in his convictions. Right, and
he's going to win. Yeah.
And there's no doubt. If my friend and a super genius like Tony Stark said, hey, maybe we're not doing the right thing, I would at least think twice about it.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily agree, but I would.
Do you think that's part though of how the character is written though?
Yes.
That's how, I mean it's,
for sure.
I haven't read the comics, so I don't know if there are source material where we do get this morally gray character, or if it's just, no, this is the way the character is written, so we're sticking to it. So
to me, it's Marvel's answer to Superman. Captain America to me is Marvel's answer to Superman, and I know that the comics are not that way, but in the films, definitely it feels that way. We're the same way that Iron Man is like Batman, right? They kind of have these same threads of similar characteristics, and just for me, just too perfect.
Right. Well, that sounds like a perfect way to wrap up. We have been yapping about this for almost 50 minutes now.
Awesome.
And here we thought we wouldn't have a lot to talk about. I could go on still for hours. And
we'll need a part two. If you want a part two.
See, again, putting the power in sort of the reader and the viewer. If you want more, God, we could talk more about this.
If you're on YouTube, leave us comments. If you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, download it, like it, send us emails, visit our website, let us know.
Absolutely. We could talk about this for a long time. But in the meantime, you can check us out at boundbybookspodcast.com. You can find out more about all of us and what we write. And be sure to tune in next week as we talk about books and the things that we love about them in Bound by Books.